You'll have more than 100 days to this election, but at this point, you're losing.
First of all, I'm not losing because those are fake polls.
选举倒数不到100天，从 CNN 到 ABC， 川普的民调都输了。
With recent polls, including one from the Washington Post and ABC News, showing him leading by double digits. Biden appears to have grown his lead in large part because of negative reviews of the president's handling of the coronavirus pandemic.
More people are voting this year against President Trump, not necessarily for Biden. The president's supporters are more enthusiastic about supporting him than Biden's supporters are.
When Biden's over 50%, and also the margin here, both in our poll, an 11-point lead for Joe Biden, and really all of the other major national polls that are out there right now showing sizable Biden leads. You know, in 2016, we say Hillary Clinton led pretty much the whole race. Her leads were basically about 3 to 8 points. It was usually somewhere in that range. We're sitting in high single digits, low double digits right now in poll after poll.
Draw your attention right away to the big three here: Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, 3 Midwest states, of course, that President Trump flipped very, very narrowly in 2016. First time in 3 decades for a Republican in those states. The poll numbers there have been showing Biden consistently ahead by a solid margin. There's also Florida, President Trump's home state now, one that he won by a point in 2016. The polling there for Joe Biden, this has surprised people. Not only is Biden leading in the Florida polling, his lead has been sizable, an average of 8 points.
NBC 用一张图告诉你，拜登拿下这4个州有多么重要。
Here, this is where we landed in 2016. Trump 306, Clinton 232. Democrats have been saying, look, the very basic thing here, you talk about those 3 Midwest states. If they could get Pennsylvania, if they could get Michigan, and if they could get Wisconsin, that alone, with nothing else changing, would put Biden over the top. Mention that Florida number. If Biden gets Florida, 29 electoral votes, he's well over 270. He could even afford a loss in a state like Michigan, still be over 270. If Biden could flip Florida and just win one of those states in the Midwest, Donald Trump's in trouble.
问题是，选情如果照这样发展下去，川普会接受选举结果吗？他是这么说的
In general, not talking about November, are you a good loser?
I'm not a good loser. I don't like to lose. I don't lose too often. You don't know until you see. It depends. I think mail-in voting is going to rig the election. I really do.
Are you suggesting that you might not accept the results of the election?
I have to see. Look, Hillary Clinton asked me the same thing.
No, I asked you the same thing in the debate.
Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
Well,
okay?
Chris.
And you know what? She's the one that never accepted it.
I agree.
She never accepted her loss, and
But
she looks like a fool.
Can you give a direct answer? You will accept the election?
I have to see. Look, I have to see. No, I'm not going to just say yes. I'm not going to say no, and I didn't last time either.
We should not really be shocked by Donald Trump's admission in an interview with Chris Wallace that he might not accept the results of the November election. After all, he said that before the 2016 election as well. But the situation now is far more dangerous. For months, Trump has been unleashing forces that, come November, could cause tens of millions of Americans to be convinced that the election was rigged.
Do you believe that this 2020 presidential election will be rigged? I have no reason to think it will be.
Trump is an avid fan of conspiracy theories to begin. His political rise started with one, the notion that Barack Obama was born in Kenya. He has embraced the most noxious peddler of falsehoods, Alex Jones. Trump and his associates have been stoking the QAnon movement, which imagines a battle between the president and a deep state of high-ranking officials and liberal elites who practice child torture and satanic worship. Yes, check it out. All these instincts are now being channeled into one idea, one great conspiracy, that the November vote will be rigged. He has already claimed in the past that large numbers of undocumented immigrants, out-of-state residents, and dead people were voting for the Democrats with no proof. He recently insisted there is zero chance mail-in ballots will be anything less than substantially fraudulent because mailboxes will be robbed, ballots will be forged. He says millions of mail-in ballots will be printed by foreign countries.
You're sending out hundreds of millions of universal mail-in ballots. Hundreds of millions. Where are they going? Who are they being sent to? But they talk Russia, Russia, Russia. They talk China. They talk all of these countries. They say they get involved in our elections. This is easy. You can forge ballots. This is much easier for foreign countries. Go ahead, Steve.
None of these charges are backed up with proof. Now, some take comfort from the polls, believing Joe Biden will win with a large enough margin to make all these concerns irrelevant. Maybe. But it is also quite possible that things will get very messy in November. Assuming we are still in the midst of a pandemic, all 50 states will have instituted new measures relating to voting, from social distancing rules to mail-in ballots.
这些正好给了阴谋论者做文章的空间。
In a tweet Thursday, Mr. Trump claimed mail-in voting will produce the, quote, most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history. He then went on to suggest waiting until people can, quote, properly, securely, and safely vote.
Well, never in the history of the country, through wars, depressions, and the Civil War, have we ever not had a federally scheduled election on time. And we'll find a way to do that again this November 3rd.
美国宪法规定，修改总统选举日期、地点和方式归国会参众两院所有。现在连共和党国会议员也发声反对，于是川普只好改口了。
And no, do I want to see a date change? No, but I don't want to see a crooked election. This election will be the most rigged election in history if that happens.
延后选举，党内外同志都不听，川普还能怎么做？《纽约时报》说，川普可以削弱邮政系统，导致邮件交付速度变慢。只要让多年财政陷于困境的邮政总局收不到紧急资金，大量的邮寄选票可能会使邮差不知所措，拖慢邮件交付速度。德国《明镜周刊》看坏川普选情，以新冠疫情如何打醒民粹总统川普为题，直言他的连任需要奇迹。在川普不断灌输的选民诈欺阴谋论下，选后美国的和解也需要奇迹。
So even if Trump leaves office in January, voluntarily or not, he will leave behind a political climate that could verge on civil war.
川普能否在11月逆转胜，取决于美国疫情能否放缓，人民生活能否恢复正常。然而，更重要的是，川普能否在美国陷入危机之际，展现对人民生命的重视与一份同理心。
New CBS News polling shows the economy, healthcare, and the pandemic are top concerns for voters. Neither candidate has an advantage on fixing the economy, but the president earns poor marks in the fight against COVID-19.
But when you talk about mortality rates, I think it's the opposite. I think we have one of the lowest mortality rates in the world. We're going to take a look.
We had 900 deaths on a single day.
We will take a look.
This week.
Ready?
You can check it out.
Could you please get me the mortality rate?
Yeah.
Kaylee's right here. I heard we had one of the lowest, maybe the lowest mortality rate anywhere in the world. You have the numbers, please? Because I heard we had the best mortality rate.
The case rate of similarly situated countries, as Dr. Bergman points out, and this is
number one low mortality rate.
But there is an important difference between the 2020 candidates. Trump revels in conspiracy theories. Joe Biden does not. One of America's greatest legacies to the world has been the peaceful transfer of political power. When John Adams left the White House in 1801 and Thomas Jefferson was sworn in as his successor, it marked the first time in modern history that political power changed hands between two rival parties competing in an election. It is that precious legacy that Donald Trump is endangering with his conspiracy mongering about rigged elections.